Netflix, you don't need cable. Hop on YouTube, welcome to the hood table, where we chop up local and global events vocally. You don't really wanna miss out on these conversations. Just joke a little, laugh a little, get that wine in your system, fill your glass a little. Expose current events, talk trash a little. You never know, these opinions might clash a little. They addicted to the content, got them binge watching. You don't like it, then you want invited. Bet your friends watching in the house and your job parking lot before you clocking. They don't wanna miss a second of this HT content. Everybody think they got something to say, so it's an open invitation, bring it to the table. But if you come whack, just know we ain't buying in. We gon' probably turn your back and tell you sorry, try again, Yeah, welcome to the hood table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Yeah, welcome to the hood table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable.
Hey, you guys, what's up? What's going on? It is Thirsty Thursday. And when I tell you I've been thirsting to come live all day to go through the transcripts with you guys over the presenting closing arguments by the prosecuting team in the infamous Diddy trial, which they said could be the trial of the decade, the trial of the century, depending on which way it goes, I guess. But anyway, come on in. Make sure you like and share the video. Support the channel, please, and thank you. You can send a Cash App. You can send a super chat. You can subscribe. You can click the notification bell. All of those things really do count and goes towards growing the channel, goes towards growing the platform. So please and thank you very, very much. Now, today, I do believe it was around about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock was when they got started with the closing arguments for the prosecuting team, for the government. Now, they're supposed to get 4 hours, and give or take, it was about 4 hours with the breaks and the lunch. The defense is going to get their 4 hours tomorrow. As far as deliberating time for the jury, they said that could start tomorrow. It could start Monday. So we shall see. But all in all, this trial will officially come to an end by next week. Can y'all believe it? It's been like 7 weeks. They said it would go through July 4th. Next week is the holiday. So I think next Friday is July 4th. So they were literally predicted it to be right on time, because even if they wrap it up tomorrow with the jury, it depends on how long they take. With the jury, it could be an hour. It could be 4 hours. It could be 12 hours. It could be, we never know, case to case to case. And even though it seems like, a lot of proof has been racked up in a case, sometimes it still takes the jury a long time because some of them just don't agree. You can't just agree to disagree when it comes to being a juror. You guys got to stand together, 10 toes down. Guilty, not guilty, or y'all just like, hey, I'm sorry, judge, but we can't make a determination. You know what I'm saying? So then the judge has to meet with the jury, and they have to go over the questions, and they have to go over the charges, and they have to, make the jury rethink their decisions. So I'm hoping it won't be nothing like that. I just hope it'll be quick and they can get their decision out there. And we the people, and Diddy, of course, too, will know if he's going to face the rest of his life or most of the rest of his life in jail, or if he's going to walk. So let's get right into it, you guys. As far as the trial goes, basically, from what they're saying, as far as the 4 hours that the prosecutor team, by the way, the person who led the not led, but basically gave the closing arguments for the government, that was Christy Slavik. I heard she did a great job. Again, I'm not going through the transcripts until I always come live with you guys. So I basically gather them, I put them together on my my Windows, not my Word document, and I start with you guys. So, but I heard that she did a great job. That it kind of did make it seem like, it would be possible at least 3 counts that he would be charged for. But, we still got the defense team to come and do their thing. So, we never know. We never know. But, as far as the jury goes, I mean, as far as the prosecuting team goes, they sought out basically to prove that Diddy, in fact, along with his company, along with what is Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy LLC, whatever he calls his company, that he thought he was above the law as he led a racketeering conspiracy. That is what the prosecution had to set out to prove. They said that Diddy thought his fame, wealth, and power put him above the law as he led a criminal enterprise for 2 decades, using power, violence, and fear to carry out brutal crimes. A prosecutor that was Slavik, told the jury at the music mogul sex trafficking trial during closing arguments today. Over the last several weeks, you've learned a lot about Diddy, said attorney Slavik. He's the leader of a criminal enterprise. He doesn't take no for an answer. Let me show y'all who she is, by the way. Hey, sugar mama. Hey, baby. How you doing? This is her right here. This is attorney Slavik, Christy Slavik. She's the one who gave the closing arguments today. That's her right there. So while I'm reading this, before we get to the transcripts, I'm going to leave her picture on the screen. So what she said, what she told the jury today, was over the last 7 weeks, you've heard about Diddy. You learned that he's the leader of a criminal enterprise. He doesn't take no for an answer. And now you know how many crimes he committed with members of his enterprise. She said sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges were supported by proof over 2 decades. Combs kidnapped one of his employees, committed arson by trying to blow up a car, engaged in forced labor, bribed a hotel security guard, and carried out the brutal crimes at the heart of this case. He over and over again and again forced, threatened, and manipulated former girlfriend Cassie and an ex-girlfriend Jane, Jane Doe, the one who went by the pseudonym, aka allegedly Fitty Baby Mama. He basically manipulated them, forced them, threatened to continue having sex with escorts for his own entertainment. She said Diddy forced or coerced Cassie and Jane to engage in the days-long sexual performances known as free calls or hotel nights or king nights with drugs, violence, or by threatening financial harm, or to release the video recordings. He's made of some of hundreds of their encounters, probably thousands. The defendant used his power, violence, and fear to get what he wanted. He thought his fame, he thought his wealth, he thought his power put him above the law. They said Diddy counted on silence and shame to enable and prolong his abuse. He used a small army of employees, including personal assistants and bodyguards, to harm women and cover it up. The theory of racketeering law is not that, basically what it is, what they're trying to say is, the theory of racketeering law is that when someone commits crime as part of a group, they're more powerful and dangerous. The defendant was a powerful man, but he became more powerful and more dangerous because of his inner circle, his businesses, his business, his enterprise. Him and his inner circle committed hundreds of racketeering acts. That's what they're saying. Now the defense will present its closing Friday, built its case on acquittal through lengthy cross-examinations of most of the government 34 witnesses. Some testify only in response to subpoenas and insist that they didn't even want to be there. These people did not even want to be there. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, y'all come on in, sit back and relax. I'm going to give the closing arguments hood table style. Is that okay with y'all? It is 4 hours of closing arguments, and I'm going to try to sum this shit up in an hour, okay? Yes, fucking Slimeball. I heard she did a good job, too. Now, we can't see it. I don't know how she talks. I don't know how she sounds, but y'all know I'm just going to go through the script and give it to you hood table style, the way that I think she might have presented the closing arguments, okay? So I hope that's okay with y'all. So let me pull up my Word document. Oh my God, it's so long. And you know what, you guys? Today, any other day, I would stop in between and I would chit chat with you guys and give commentary in between the transcripts. Since this is 4 hours worth of argument by the prosecuting team, and I don't want to break, I'm going to keep it rolling, okay? So I'll take a sip of water here and there, but otherwise I'm going to keep it rolling, okay? Because I want to keep this rolling. And I want to give you guys time at the end if you want to come up and speak on it. You know, I'm going to drop the link at the end, but I'm going to go through the whole closing arguments nonstop just to have, you know, just to put some little drink in my throat, you know, in between time. But other than that, let's go. You said, let's go, hoodie. Let's go. Yes, hoodies. Let's go. All right, here we go. So, U.S. versus Diddy, Sean Combs, Diddy trial, aka Love. These are the closing arguments after 6 weeks of testimonies. This is 7th week. This is when the closing arguments begin. Okay, so at 9:37 a.m., it begins. The judge says, "Good morning. We emailed the charge to the parties, but there are still some time government, it capitalizes, will charge or will change that in an instruction about witnesses. There should be no disruption during closings. No disruptions." The judge says, "I'll tell the jurors that it will be a shorter day today, longer tomorrow, and then deliberation, it will be up to them." The government attorney, Ms. Slavik, she will be here at 10 a.m. to deliver the closing. Diddy's attorney, Shapiro, there are some italics we want out. He said, okay. They took a break right after that till 10 a.m. The judge said, while we wait, Ms. Comey, do you have the laptop ready? She said, I'll defer to Ms. Garagos. Tenny Garagos said, we'll have it ready tomorrow. The judge said, with only the admitted exhibits, I'll ask tomorrow. The judge says, let's get our jury. All right. The judge said, give your attention to the parties' closing arguments. Today will be shorter. The U.S. closings. Tomorrow will be the defense. Let me get this picture off of here. Okay. So tomorrow will be the defense. And welcome, everybody. Make sure you like and share, please, and thank you very much. But yes, tomorrow there will be the defense. And then the deliberation. After the, wait, hold on, let me start over. Because I was looking at that picture trying to delete that at the same time while I was talking. So give your attention to the parties' closing arguments. Today will be shorter, the U.S. closings. Tomorrow, the defense, the rebuttal, because you know the prosecuting team, they always get a chance to do a rebuttal. So they can be the last person that the jury hears. And then it'll be the judge's instructions. You can begin deliberation. The jury will stay. The government Slavik attorney who's going to lead the arguments, she said, here we go. Over the last few weeks, you've learned that Diddy is the leader of a criminal organization. He doesn't take no for an answer. He's into kidnapping, arson, forced labor, bribery of a security officer, and the brutal crimes of sex trafficking. Consider 2 moments, you guys. March 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel. The defendant got violent with Cassie. You saw what happened. He dragged her back to the freak-off. 2024 at Jane's house. The defendant choked her and hit her. She ran. She couldn't get away. These are chapters in the same book. The defendant counted on silence and shame. He thought that his fame and his wealth and his power put him above the law. So over the last 7 weeks, you've heard how he used his staff to promote his power, and no one could stop him. We'll talk about RICO, including sex trafficking and transportation for prostitution, which are also separately charged as standalone crimes. You may have heard of racketeers. When someone commits crime as part of a group, they are more dangerous. A group of people whose purpose was to serve and protect the defendant. It's his kingdom. Everyone was there to serve him, fulfilling all of his desires, including his sexual desires. We need to show at least 2 racketeering crimes. Pretty strong there for a start. The defendant was the head of the Combs enterprise. There was an inner circle. His chief of staff and his bodyguards. The names changed, but the roles remained the same. You've heard about KK, Combs' right brain. She lived in 2 Star. She communicated with the defendant's girlfriends. His security, you heard their names: D-Rock, Bonds, Rube, Uncle Paulie, Fahim. They were armed and ready. Remember the incident at the diner with Suge Knights? David James told you Diddy had guns. In the search, law enforcement found guns, including a rifle with a series number defaced in LA. Two AR-15s with their serial numbers cut out in the defendant's closet. You also have the rotating cast of assistants paid by the defendant's business. Brendan Paul said he made $100,000 a year. KK made 6 times that. When your boss asks you to buy drugs, you're committing a crime. When you kidnap someone or lock his girlfriend in a hotel room after your boss stomps on her face, it's a crime. The law does not require us to know what they liked committing these crimes. You saw KK chiding the defendant to not be so reckless, but she got him cash, drugs. She was a member of the enterprise. It impacted interstate commerce. Minimal is fine. Diddy knowingly became a member. He was the boss. He was the through line. The racketeering acts, distribution of drugs, kidnapping, arson, bribery, facilitating sex trafficking of Cassie and Jane, forced labor, travel for commercial sex, cover up. You only need to find that someone would commit 2 acts in any of these categories. It could be 2 acts of drug distribution, 1 kidnapping, just 2. You have far more than 2. Let's start with the drugs, an essential ingredient of freak-offs. The most involved were D-Rock, KK, and Fahim, but others helped keep the drug supply high. We are not talking about marijuana, you guys, but what Brendan Paul called hard drugs. There are stipulations of the drugs found in the searches: cocaine, meth, oxy, ketamine is a dissociative drug, GHB, mushrooms, Molly, Tussie, a combination dyed pink. It's 1305 and 1306. The quantities are not relevant. It's not an element of the crime. Distribution does not require a sale. You know the names of the drug dealers by now: Guido, One Stop, and Baby Girl. Jane told you that on 2 occasions she was told to bring drugs when she flew to meet him. She coordinated with KK. It's corroborated by the text messages. KK told Jane to swing by Mapleton to pick up the Guido package. He was called during hotel nights, so we know what the Guido package was: more ecstasy. The security team knew what it was. Guido texts Fahim, Puff has $450 balance with me. Brendan Paul asked for $780 for personal Gucci items. That is hard drugs. Drugs were distributed. It doesn't matter he wasn't buying kilos. It doesn't matter that he wasn't selling them. Personal use is just a distraction. They bought and distributed to the people around them. Cassie used drugs at every freak-off supplied by the defendant. He introduced Jane to drugs, gave them to her at all but one hotel night. He gave drugs to Carrie Morgan and to Bonner. He made Brendan Paul try Tussie to see if it was good. D-Rock would text One Stop, need to see someone for bro, that is, the defendant. Guido asked for him to cover the defendant's drug debt. KK knew he was distributing drugs to the women for the Wild King nights. Jane told KK she was having a bad come down. KK gives pro tips how to deal with it. Plain and simple. This is a drug distribution. How about kidnapping? They committed them under both California and New York law. Consider Cassie. Bond made her stay put. The defendant called Cassie a slut. He slapped on her face. She was disfigured. Roger Bonds caught her and brought her back. The defendant made her go to the London Hotel on Sunset, so no one saw her. She wanted to go home to her mom, but no. It's clear Cassie did not consent to staying in the London Hotel. David James testified the defendant demanded to see his search history if he had posted that the defendant assaulted Cassie in the club. Then there's Capricorn Clark. They made her take a lie detector test for days in an empty office building in Manhattan. This was in 2004. She was holding expensive jewelry that went missing. And Uncle Polly took her to the future HQ, a bad boy. She was tested for 5 lies. The man administered the test told her if she failed, she'd end up in the East River. In Central Park, the defendant told her if anything happened, he'll have to kill her. David James remembers this. He was tested too, to get the rat out the system, to get the rat out the team. In December 2011, Rube helped the defendant kidnap Capricorn Clark. It started on December 22nd, 2011. The defendant banged on Capricorn's door with a gun. He was out for revenge. He barked an order at Capricorn, "Get dressed. We're going to kill Cuddy." They drove to Kid Cudi's house. The defendant had a gun in his lap. This was kidnapping. He moved her a substantial distance. The defendant said he wouldn't let her told until she brought him to Cassie, who he kicked when she arrived in a fetal position. Cassie, who was with Kid Cudi that morning, testified with this. The officer who responded to the 911 call, he said he saw a black Escalade registered to Bad Boy. Then on January 12th, 2012, the defendant had Kid Cudi's car set on fire. Arson. Someone cut a hole in the roof of Kid Cudi's car and dropped in a mulatto cocktail. We're not suggesting the defendant cut the hole. He didn't even buy his own suit. You heard the voice notes. He said he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car. So what are the odds? He says it, and it happened. The coincidence just keep on coming. The defendant and Rube just happened to be there a few weeks before. Kid Cudi was driving the same Porsche the night of the trespass. What are the odds, you guys? Kid Cudi had conflicts with no one except the defendant. Then D-Rock brought Kid Cudi to the defendant, who was looking like a Marvel super villain. Years later, the defendant apologizes to Kid Cudi. Then there's bribery. The 2016 video. The defendant was having a freak off with Cassie and one of the escorts, Jules. Flores found the defendant sitting in a chair with what he called was a devilish stare. In the room, he saw another man. The defendant tried to hand Flores a stack of money. It was his first attempt at a bribe that day. As Cassie leaves, Diddy starts damage control. We had a power issue. Is your mic working? That's from the judge. Hello? Yes. He called Cassie over a dozen times. The text, call me. Cops are here. He was just manipulating her. But the defendant knew he could be arrested. There was a video of the assault. He went and banged on Cassie's door with a hammer. Neighbors was going to call the police. They did, in fact, go. Carrie Morgan had the LAPD card. KK suggests, say they had a fun drunk night. She calls and reaches Eddie Garcia. Eddie says no. Then KK shows up in person. He won't show her, but says off the record, it's bad. KK had the defendant call Eddie on his personal cell phone. Once Eddie says to his boss what had happened, the boss says, I'll get him the video for $50,000. The defendant calls him Eddie, my angel. That's how he saved in the phone. That's how he saved the security guard's name in his phone. Eddie, his angel. Eddie goes to deliver the USB. D-Rock and KK are both there. The defendant counted out dollar by dollar the amount of the bribe. That's $100,000, y'all. Y'all remember? Counted out dollar by dollar. Eddie told you the security guard told him he came up with the defendant. That was D-Rock. Eddie asked the defendant, what if Cassie calls the police? So the defendant knew. Eddie finds the idea of staying in for Flores. The NDAs are signed. Do not speak to anyone. Do not speak to anyone. And right here, I'm going to show y'all a picture. This right here, y'all. This is a picture of Diddy's family at the trial today. That is Diddy's support team, his family, his children. Just wanted to show y'all that while I'm taking a little water break. And thank y'all for tuning in. Yes, the countdown does begin. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all like and share the videos. As I said before at the beginning, for those who came in late, I'm just going through the documents quick and fast because it's a lot. And then at the end, I'll drop the link if anybody wants to jump up here and discuss it, okay? All right. So back to the closing arguments. Let me scroll down. Okay. Police involvement would hurt him. The two are connected. The next racketeering predicate is sex trafficking. Defendants' inner circle assisted, whether they wanted to or not, threats, drugs, lies, and illegal violence to make them have sex with escorts. This is not an attempt to criminalize dysfunctional relationships or personal sexual behavior. They did not want to have sex with strangers while the defendant sat over there in the chair and masturbated. They were covered in oil. They were sore over and over and over again. We are not asking you to find that every hotel night or freak off was sex trafficking, or even the majority. You only need to find the elements were met one time. One freak off. That's it. And he's guilty. But it was way more than once. Let's start with Jane. Turn off the public screens, please. Around that time, they said Diddy was sitting still in his chair. Passed back from the defendant's table. And Xavier Donaldson and Shapiro, two of his attorneys, have their chins in their hand. Slavik continues. Consider the sobriety party and in Jane's house. Let's start with the love bombing stage. Jane was head over heels. They traveled to the Caribbean. Dr. Hughes talked about this. She never met with any witness, but it was like she knew them. Love bombing. It's a tactic. He was grooming her. He gave Jane ecstasy. She fell to the ground convulsing. The defendant liked baby oil and red lights. Then introduced in May 2021, she wanted to please her partner. She was so high. The defendant had a freak-off set up that very night, and an escort came. Jane was excited by that first experience. She didn't realize she had opened Pandora's box. It became 90% of their relationship. For a while, she went along. Then she told him she wanted it to stop. There are texts about this. Jane wrote, I wanted to do things outside these rooms, to travel with you. The defendant ignored Jane's discomfort. Those hotel nights were not about what Jane wanted. They were about what the defendant wanted to see. He decided how long. Jane said if she was going to have sex with strange men, she should at least choose which ones. The defendant made her ask them for nude photos. These were not for her. When she asked to use condoms, the defendant was not happy. He was dismissive and condescending. She would try to have it go faster, and he'd order her to slow down. It was about what he wanted. He dangled the carrots. He gave her gifts and money. He lied to her repeatedly. She would ask, when are we doing a getaway? And he said they would go on a yacht, but didn't. Here's what Jane wrote in her notes app. I don't want to have you use me to fulfill your freaky wild desires in hotel rooms. He used his payment of her rent as leverage. The carrot turned into a stick. She wrote, the threats and innuendo are non-stop. He paid for her veneers because he didn't like her teeth. Then she said, he was like, look at the roof over your head and look at your pretty mouth and teeth. He wanted the all-star party, sex with 3 men. He wanted her to have sex with 3 men. She sent him a photo of her period blood. Y'all remember that? She sent him a photo of her period blood saying, I'm on my period. This is what he sent in response in a voice note. I'm about to really disappear on you. I don't have no time for this, baby girl. You got me on my job. You got to get on your job. The message couldn't be clearer. Not going to take no for an answer. After reading Cassie's lawsuit, Jane writes to the defendant, I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. 2 of my birthdays, you forced me. Jane wrote, you gaslit me. It was sexual exploitation you framed as love for your sick fetishes. The defendant called her and tried to trick her into saying it was all consented to. He fed her a false narrative. Listen to the clip. He talked over her. Dr. Hughes told you how a victim is trauma bonded to her abuser. Jane often felt the defendant didn't listen to the truth. She said Diddy would just say, move on. Just move on. He told her to charge him, that lawyers would be involved to buy her silence. So she asked for $100,000 a year for her to move on. She thought it was reasonable. Far less than Cassie, because we know Cassie got 20 mil. The defendant went ballistic. She refused to adopt her false narrative. You can read the text messages. Jane wrote that the defendant was going to show her sex tapes to the father of her child. Then he reached out and told her to come see him in Miami. She makes it clear she doesn't want a hotel night. He says, okay. Despite his promise, he called an escort. Here are more threats about the rent. Jane writes, I hate worrying about the rent. This is in 2024. It's all accumulated in June 2024. He assaulted her and forced her to perform oral sex on an escort. This is sex trafficking. It was interstate, and the Astroglide crossed state lines. The defendant knew or recklessly disregarded that force. Threats of force, coercion, or fraud were used. Consenting once doesn't mean she consented every time. One time is enough. In 2023, He made Jane feel she'd have a proper New York City weekend, but he invited escorts. Jane sent him another message. It's dark and sleazy, in fear of losing my home. His response, girl, stop. Then he FaceTimed her and told her about stopping and dinner. He lied. Look. He is also texting Paul Arthur, an escort. Look at these messages. He is setting up a hotel night. When she is in the air, he tells her he has a surprise for her. She did not want it. That, before the plane even lands, is a completed act of sex trafficking. He tricked her. Then, under coercions, she calls Cabral to come to New York. In the next text, she says, in New York City, I knew you would pair me up with a random person. In the sobriety party, without drugs, she is so disgusted that she vomited. Meaning, y'all, this is from me, meaning she couldn't participate because she's used to being on drugs. She writes, I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. I need a break. The defendant responds, let's spend the day, no strangers. She replies, you'll love bomb me. He switches from carrot to stick, the house. He texts her, are you going to let me into our house? He texts her 8 times. Are you going to let me into our house? Then he said he was sick and needed her. She went and had sex with 3 different men without drugs. After vomiting, he told her to get back out there. (2024) in Jane's house. 3 months after Homeland Security agents searched the defendant's house, they used Jane's address. He came there. They were supposed to have a fun date night. They drank and argued. She pushed his head into the counter. He shouted at her. She told him to leave. She ran and closed the door. He kicked down 3 doors. Y'all saw the doors. Here's one of them on the screen. She ran without shoes. She hid. He was waiting. Jane hit the defendant. He punched her in the face. Here are the photos. Then he dragged her by her hair back into the house. Jane took his phone and called the other woman. She shouted. The defendant called Jonathan Perez. He followed her into the shower and he hit her again, knocked her down. He called Anton, the escort, and told her to have sex with him. She put on makeup to hide her injuries. She drove to pick up Anton at the gate. Then the defendant said, take this fucking pill. He put her face inches away from her and he asked, is this coercion? Let me repeat that. After telling her to take this fucking pill, he put his face inches from her and asked, is this coercion? He was brazenly acknowledging he was breaking the very same law he violated before. Jane didn't want to have sex with the escort that night. She said no, but he wouldn't take no as an answer. Jane performed oral sex until Anton ejaculated. The defendant told the security to bring cash to Anton. They didn't have it. The next day, he told Jane he gave Jane the money to pay Anton. She Ubered the bag of money over to him. This was coercion. The judge says, Miss Slavik, the government attorney, at the appropriate time, let's break for lunch. Slavik said this would be a fine time. Okay, George, you may go eat, and they take a break. And I'm going to take me a sip of water, y'all. Let me read some of y'all comments. Then I'm going to start right back up. You said that's what they say. Yeah, that's what the HR representative would say every time he hired somebody. But y'all notice how the people who he hired to help him with his freak off, they were a very small inner circle. You have the people in HR, you have the people in, production, you had the people in A&R, you had the people in, there's so many different elements to a company. You notice there were certain particular people that he hired that he thought would fit into his inner circle and do whatever the fuck he said. He knew how to pick them, just like he knew how to pick the girls. Guns, which is against the law, he had at least 3 or 4 of them that had the numbers cut off. You think they're going to be arguing after KK next? She should have pleaded the fifth. Oh, yeah, they said they might go after KK. Absolutely. I think she should. And that's probably why they didn't put her on the stand, because they want to try her separately. That would be a very good move for the government. Or as Dave Chappelle said, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just say it. What's up, Cosmic Girl? What up, 400? Sugar Mama. Just the facts. What up, y'all? Know I'm gonna drop the link as soon as I finish reading these closing arguments. So let me get back to it. Okay, I told you it's gonna take me about an hour to read this shit. So let me get back into it. I just had to drink a little water. Take a little water break. Excuse me. Okay, so after they came back from the break, oh yeah, make sure you guys are liking and sharing. Thank you so much. And hey, KJ, what up, boo? So after they came back for the lunch, the judge says to the government attorney, Slavik, are you ready? She said, just to flag to the court, we are going to need to change PowerPoints. So to the clerk, can we turn the public screens back on? Apparently, they couldn't turn them on. So the jury enters, all rise, the jury enters. The judge says to Governor Attorney Slavik, you may proceed. She says, let's go back. The 3 nights were part of a buildup from fraud to coercion to finance to finally force. And then the deputy said they had a little problem with the batteries. I don't know what, they couldn't bring the cameras back up. So then they had a little break for the batteries. They had to get some AA batteries. Slavik said the house was just an example of defendant's financial coercion of Jane. Also drugs. They came as a necessary part of sex. Wow. They came as a necessary part of sex. Jane told you about Miami in 2024. He gave her liquid Molly. They showed you the video. They'll argue that she was super into it, but she was super, super high. His coercion included threats to release tapes of her having sex in the hotel room. Diddy threatened to send sex tapes to Jane's child's father. This was to coerce her into more commercial sex acts. The defense has suggested that Jane agreed to these hotel nights. Let's talk about what agreeing means. There's an incomplete picture. Let me scroll back down. Ooh, there's so many pages. Okay. Let's turn to volume 2. We're going to talk about Cassie with several examples. You know, from sitting through this trial, that force was not limited to these days. Through the decade they were together, he forced her to have sex with escorts. Cassie was 19 years old. He was in his late 30s. He signed her to a 10-record deal. He took her on a yacht, gave her ecstasy. They had sex. They were in a relationship. She had just turned 21. The defendant was her boss, who called all the shots. He molded her. He told Capricorn, let me show you. Then ordered Cassie around. She did it. Walk and turn around. Total compliance. He didn't take no for an answer. He was abusive, physical, emotional, psychological, and sexual. They want you to call this domestic violence, but he was forcing her to have free calls. He controlled everything. He demanded that her nails be done in a certain way on red carpets. The Vanity Fair party in 2014, Deontay Nash told you. He shouted. Diddy shouted, I thought I told y'all she had to have her hair up. He wouldn't let her make money from her music. She was offered the chance to do a Common video. Diddy said no. He paid for her car, her clothing, phones, and vacation. He made her dependent. He did it to her family too. After he found out she was with Kid Cudi, he demanded $20,000 from her parents to pay him, or he'd release the sex tapes. That month in Justice account, he had 3.2 million coming in and out. But he asked her, demanded her parents to get him $20,000 to not release her sex tape. This was all about control. Remember what Dr. Hughes said. When a victim is on unsure footing, the abuser has control. He punched her. He kicked her. He dragged her. When it was bad, he hid her in hotels to heal and not be seen. You saw the photos and you saw the video. D-Rock knew, Rube knew, Paulie knew. They knew. He attacked her for attending a Prince party, attacked her, until Prince's security guard had to come out and intervene and get him off of her at Prince's party. Prince's security guard had to intervene. Maya and Myra Morales described the abuse to you. Cassie told you. When she got to the house, he threatened to release the sex tapes again. And he assaulted her in Jamaica. He beat her up in Las Vegas while she was curled up under the toilet. She said D-Rock cried. His security guard cried. That's how bad he beat Cassie up in Las Vegas while she was curled up underneath a toilet. There was his assault at the Intercontinental Hotel caught on tape. For Cassie, it was her normal. She was there when he attacked Maya, Devontae Nash, and Bonham. Bonham may have gotten the date wrong, but she had been injured. One time he had Cassie hold guns for him. The diner and Suge Knight incident, remember that? Cassie was in the house. She saw it. Why didn't she leave? Miss Hughes explains that hitting leads to fear. Even when Cassie was in South Africa, she could not get away. K-Cap kept calling. D-Rock was loyal only to the defendant. He played both sides. He would talk to Cassie, then reported it back to the defendant. She's about to ice up. I told her to chill out. They met for dinner in Malibu. Then he raped her on the living room floor. She said no. She cried, but he didn't take no for an answer. He raped her. He wrote, I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. After he raped her, he texted her, I could tell I didn't turn you on yesterday. That is, AKA, he raped her. Because of the trauma bond after the rape, she met him at a friend's party, then had consensual sex. This was a trauma bond. He had an MO, an hours-long performance. He masturbated and sometimes filmed, just like with Jane. Sometimes the defendant told escorts to urinate on her. Sometimes he urinated himself. Why? To turn himself on. She became drug addicted. Here she wrote, I love our freak-offs when we both want it. Jurors, this is not an all or nothing situation. There were times he knew she didn't want it. There were times he knew she didn't want to do it. That is sex trafficking. She obviously didn't want to have an escort urinate in her mouth while she lay on the floor. Let's talk about these videos. You've seen the clips. You don't see weapons. You see her having sex, masturbating. The defendant is moving the camera around, at times focusing on the escort, not Cassie at all. It's all clear this was about his fantasy, not Cassie. March 5th, 2016, in the Intercontinental Hotel, the video. Before the Intercontinental Hotel, Cassie had a premiere. It was a big night for her. She agreed to a freak-off as damage control. Look at this. She says, I don't want you thinking I don't want to. She knows the defendant won't take no for an answer. The defendant gets Jules to come. You know what happens? An argument. The defendant hits Cassie in the face, and all she can think about is her premiere. She takes off without her shoes. And that's when they show again the Intercontinental video. They show that again to the jurors. He throws her to the ground. He kicks her. Then he drags her back to the room where Jules is waiting. Why is the dragging relevant, you guys? Because Jules is there. Freak-Offs has multiple sessions. They were in between sessions. He leaves her, but he takes her bags. But she doesn't follow him. Instead, Cassie is using the phone in the elevator lobby. The defendant is making another conscious decision to take the bags into the room, then come back for Cassie with his hands free. He grabs her phone, then makes the destination to stay. He stays even though he is in a towel and looking ridiculous. After Flores arrives, he stalls in the hall. He knows Jules is still on in the room, possibly naked. The defense claims he took back drugs that day, but you can see he is under control. He claims that he took no drugs that day. My bad. The defense claimed he took no drugs that day that he beat Cassie in the hotel, but you can see he was out of control. Cassie just wanted to get her bag and phone and leave. The defendant offered Flores money. This is a photo of Jane in the car, back to her house, with sunglasses covering her black eye. He was using force to get Cassie to continue with the freak-off. The defense may tell you the violence was not connected to the sex, but it was an attempt to get Cassie to continue with the freak-off. Later, she wrote to him, I am not a ragdoll. I am someone's child. There were freak-offs in New York with Daniel Phillip. Daniel Phillip was not paid for his time. There was a ridiculous argument. In one freak-off between sessions, the defendant told Cassie to come in the bedroom. She kept using the computer. The defendant threw a bottle, dragged her, then he slapped her. Daniel Phillip heard Diddy yell, bitch, when I tell you to come here, you come here. After that, Daniel Phillip, he could not perform. But a completed act is not required for sex trafficking. This is sex trafficking. Canis, their word at a film festival. The defendant accused Cassie of stealing his drugs. He threw her off the boat they were staying on. Maya heard an audio of this, recognizing the voices. They flew back to New York. She traded seats to get away, but he followed her and showed her some freak-off videos. He threatened to release the sex tapes. When they got to New York, they had another freak-off. This is another example of clear-cut coercion. He threw her off a boat without her passport. He wanted Cassie to be afraid to say no to him. Cassie said, I didn't know what no would mean, what no would turn into. He could be very violent. The defense said Cassie made a choice every day to stay with him. Step back. Imagine yourself as Cassie. This was the force. This was the leverage. There were the drugs, disassociative and numbing. She needed that buffer. Yes, some of the messages are explicit. That doesn't mean she wanted to have sex with escorts at freak-offs. In 2009, he wrote, you're supposed to be sorry, you guys. In 2009, he wrote, you're supposed to be seducing me all day. Cassie told the defendant she didn't want to do freak-offs. Take her to a birthday party. Deontay told you about it. He demanded she freak off, and she did. What choice did Cassie have in the end? She did not have freedom to make voluntarily adult choices. Let's go back to count one for a minute. While it was the defendant and the freak-offs, but he had help. He had help from KK to D-Rock to Fahim. They knew it was wrong. How did they facilitate? KK got strange men access to rooms the defendant and Cassie shared. KK got Clayton Howard, Dave, access to the room. Jonathan Perez found a video of Cassie having sex with an escort. He then showed it to KK. She knew. Fahim saw it too. Fahim got drugs to the defendant even during the free calls between sessions. On February 18, 2024, after Jane told KK still sent stuff for Wild King nights. D-Rock iced Cassie's black eye. It would be to absorb to think D-Rock didn't know what they were doing. Of course they knew. Of course he knew. I expect the defense will say they didn't know. David James saw a stranger. Deontay Nash saw one. Jonathan Perez saw a video of Jane having sex with another man while the defendant watched. Interstate travel for prostitution? The defendant paid escorts. He caused the travel. He sometimes booked it. The transportation counts do not require force, fraud, or coercion. Even if all consented, we know that's not true. It's still a crime. It's just knowing transportation with the intent the individual engaged in prostitution. For count 3, free calls involving Cassie. The escort's travel was often booked by travel agents. She remembered Dave, Clayton Howard. He was traveled from New York to Miami or LA. Another escort traveled to Ibiza, Exhibit GX 1402. These were Jules Theodore at London Hotel in New York City. The defendant asked Jules' name for the ticket. The defendant AMX shows he paid for a car. So Diddy asked for his real name to put on the ticket. Diddy AMX shows he paid for a car. There's the $2,000 bill from the London Hotel. The defendant texts, I will tip you. For what? Sex. For this incident alone, the defendant is guilty under count 3. But there's more. More jewels at the London Hotel starting at 7 a.m. Consider this. Paul going to Turks. The defendant says, how should I pay? He paid for Paul's travel to Turks for sex. Here, Reggie flew from Las Vegas to LA for sex. He is never tired. James sent $1,100 via Cash App. Here's the hotel folio, $4,000 for damage. The hotel staff found bodily fluids on the floor. Couldn't be any clearer. Couldn't be any clearer. Every time KK helped arrange travel for the Wild King Nights, she was part of the crime. She may not have liked it, but she did it. KK sent up travel for a Wild King Night in Vegas. Then they hear Diddy's voice saying, the wildest Wild King Nights in Vegas. That means KK knows. KK helped Cabral book his travel. Combs asked her for cash. She knows exactly what is going on. She facilitated travel for the escorts. Each is a racketeering act. You only need to find 2 acts. Just here, there are dozens. There are dozens. And right there, they took a break, and I'm going to take a break. KK got paid over $600,000. So I think who asked that question? Who asked that question? I can't see. She only got one and nothing more. He should have got charged with DB2. Yeah, they should have charged him with DB2, but they figured these were stronger arguments, I guess. And besides the DB, You can get served or charged with domestic violence, but I don't know. Some people get charged with domestic violence and they get what, 5 years, a couple of years. You know, just depends. You never know with just a DV case. You said, I remember seeing a video of Cassie trying to hide herself under a blanket from Diddy's camera. I could have never imagined she was going through this. Neither could I. This was a clear case. Cosmic Girl, who you telling, boo? This is a clear case of manipulation by causing shame and guilt to ensure the victims are hooked on drugs. Not phonics, but hooked on drugs and are too ashamed and too embarrassed and too scared to walk away. Absolutely. I absolutely. Sugar Mama agrees as well. It's similar to Emily. Yes, that's that's what I was saying. A lot of people think trafficking is you gotta send this girl all around the world and I. Nope. Trafficking, you could be in the same place. You could be in your house all day. You could be in a hotel all day. It's still trafficking because you're paying people to have sex with people. It's trafficking. And a lot of those times they said no. They didn't want to do it. And why didn't they leave? Because he threatened to release their sex tapes. I think in Cassie's case, you guys, she was with him for 10 years. I really, truly, honestly think if Cassie wouldn't have left, she'd be going through the same shit right now. Cassie probably, God forbid, Cassie probably be dead. I'm not saying he would hurt her. I'm saying for all the drugs. Cassie would probably be dead if she had stayed with him. She had it bad. She had it bad. Bad. I think she was just like so fucked up in the end, so on drugs. I think she didn't give a fuck anymore. She didn't give a fuck about herself, her life. But one thing she also didn't give a fuck about was if he released a sex tape or not. She had got to that point where she probably was like, release him. I don't give a fuck. Release him. It's just going to show how horrible a person you are. I think she finally was like, fuck that. You know how somebody threatened you? You know, you ever get bullied in school or bullied in your neighborhood before? Anybody ever been bullied before or seen somebody get bullied? They be like, fuck it. I got to stand up and fight. I got to. I don't give a fuck if I get my ass whooped. I don't give a fuck if people laugh at me. If I got to come back every goddamn day, I'm going to keep fighting. I think she was like, fuck that. I'm going to fight for my freedom. And if it takes, you know, me sacrificing some videotapes to get put out, that's what it's gonna be. Instead, he never did release anything. Somebody who worked at the hotel did. Mm-hmm. Child. Think about the amount of power a person has to keep these horrendous acts hidden, and the money, and the money. And you know, when it comes to KK, we know she made 600K because the drug dealer was making 100K, and he said that KK made 6 times more than him. So that would equivalent to about 600, probably more than that, because KK was his right hand man. KK probably made way more than that. Shit. Probably way more. Mm-hmm. Yep, that was KJ who asked for us for that. Yep. KK worked him for years. Mm-hmm. Y'all think KK is going down next? I absolutely do. I absolutely do. She helped him run that empire. She helped him run that circle, that criminal enterprise. She helped him. She was right there for it. Right there. And you calling KK and telling her he beat you. I can't have sex no more. The drugs. It hurts. I'm in pain. I don't know what to do. And KK trying to give you advice on what to do or what to take or what to say. Mm-hmm. You said the president of the USA gets paid about 450, but KK got paid 6. Trump going to ask for. You know what? Man, you said hi to Cassie. Oh, she just left. Cassie finally got the courage to leave. If Diddy had not been arrested, Jane would probably be in the same situation that she was in. because Jane was with Diddy until he got arrested. Remember, he's still paying for her crib. Yep, Cassie got 20 million, but she was already gone. Cassie was already gone. She got 20 million because she sued him after the rape. But Cassie was like, fuck that shit. Because after she got raped, she had sex with him like the very next day. So she didn't file that lawsuit for the rape until, much time later. And then that's when she also filed the not the rape, but I'm mixing it up too. She filed a civil case for the rape. But as far as the charges, because it's two different things. You could charge somebody for a crime civilly, and then you could charge them what is it called? Civil or criminal. So civilly, she won 20 million, but there's still the criminal case as well, which is what's going on right now. The trafficking and racketeering. But don't forget, she also got 10 million from the hotel, because the hotel, they was found responsible for selling Diddy that tape and covering up a crime. So she also got 10 million from the hotel. She got that 10 million from Intercontinental Hotel a week before the trial started. So altogether, she got 30 million for that. If he comes away guilty from this shit, she might get Diddy probably gonna go broke. He started with $1 billion before the trial, before he was arrested. He's now at he's around like 400 million. So he lost 600 million in less than a year. Less than a year. I don't know, child. I don't know. You said, Puffy said, take this money. Take that, take that, take that. All right, let me finish it off. Let me pull it. Let me bring it home, y'all. Let me bring it home, and then I'm going to drop the link for anybody who wants to come up. So anyway, after their break, the judge asked District Attorney Slavik how much more time she has. She said 1 hour. The judge says, all rise. They say all rise. Jury enters. Slavik says, I expect the judge will instruct you on forced labor laws, and they showed him the chart. You heard of forced labor of 4 women, Cassie and Jane, and Maya and Capricorn. Cassie and Jane, it was grueling sexual services. Cassie called them grueling up to 4 days, maybe even more. Jane said the same thing. Cassie and Jane were on call to perform free calls for the defendant whenever he wanted, wherever he wanted. He used force or threats of force. He would say, let's finish on a high note. Let's push through. You're not tired, are you? Remember when he told her, take that dick? It took weeks to recover from free calls. That's forced labor. KK kept setting up hotel rooms and flights. Let's turn to Maya. She worked for Diddy, finally at Revolt. She went 5 days without sleep. Diddy sexually assaulted her. He put his hand up her dress. He came into her bedroom and penetrated her. He came into the closet and forced her to perform oral sex on him. There was a time in the bathroom of the private jet she can't fully remember repeated traumatic events. She was clear as a bell, even under cross-examination. She performed labor and services, including sexual services. He threw her against a wall, slammed the door on her arm. She saw violence at Prince's party and on the Turks. When they were in South Africa, KK told Maya, if you don't call him in 10 minutes, you ain't gonna have no job. He has all the power and control. She knew she couldn't say no, even to the little things. Maya knew that her job was to protect the defendant. HR was for Diddy. She couldn't go to the police due to Diddy's power. The threats left her with no other option. I expect you're going to hear that she could have left. That she told Diddy she loved him. Maya pulled no punches. There were high highs and low lows. Capricorn Clark had an issue with overtime. She took the issue to the head of HR. to Vashta Wilson, but HR was the defendant's puppy. The defendant and Uncle Polly threatened her in Central Park, and the lie detector, and taking her to Kid Cudi's. Capricorn had a son to provide for. Diddy threatened to blacklist her. Now witness tampering and obstruction after Cassie filed her lawsuit. This weaves the whole story together. Jane wrote, "You gaslit me." She posed the problem for the defendant. So Combs called Jane. The calls were recorded on KK's phone. You can listen to them. On November 19, 2023, Cassie's lawsuit was already settled, but he is afraid of a criminal investigation. Ain't that what I just said, y'all? He calls and asks, "What can I do to make you feel better?" He says, "I can't be speaking on the phone." He is worried the U.S. will get 3 years of his text messages with Jane. While he's recording the calls, he tries to convince her she was willing. He said, "We just did some kinky shit. I thought we both enjoyed it." Do you hear on the recorded call the sound of notes being taken with a Sharpie to plan how to get what they want Jane to say? You've seen that in this trial. The lawyers passing notes to each other. Do you hear on the recorded call the sounds of, oh, I read that already. Then Combs had D-Rock reach out to Maya, asking her to say something. Maya told you her reaction to the call. She has seen the defendant bashing Cassie's head. D-Rock has seen it too. He was asking her to agree to a lie. As the federal investigation grew, they kept reaching out to Maya. D-Rock called her 5 times in a row. The chart Ms. Sanker presented to you brings this together. The defendant's conduct towards Maya is also obstruction and witness tampering. Also obstruction is the video of the intercontinental assault. It's bribery, but also obstruction. Finally, venue, we only have to show an act in this district. Doesn't have to be criminal. SDNY includes Manhattan and the Bronx. Count 2, freak-offs in Manhattan. Count 3, freak-offs, Jules to London, hotel in Manhattan. And count 4, Jane in Manhattan. You spent 7 weeks listening. A lot of the evidence was hard to hear, hard to see. You heard from Kid Cudi, whose house was broken into and whose car was burned. You heard from Regina Ventura, which is Cassie's mother, y'all. You heard from Deontay Nash, how he ran the enterprise with total control. It's time to hold him accountable. It's time to find him guilty. And the judge said, "We'll continue tomorrow, jurors. Do not watch or read anything about this case. All rise. Court is adjourned." What up, though, TC? How you doing? You said, "I know Puff." You said Puff made the same money. Take this money. Oh, I read that one. For 100, he manifested all this. Yes, Pac manifested all this. A lot of the entertainers out there manifested all this. A lot of the entertainers been trying to tell us for years what was going on. They've been trying to tell us for years. Like y'all said in the chat, y'all saw a time where Cassie was underneath the covers or underneath the the comforter, and she was trying to hide her face, and nobody would have ever thought that it was this bad. I mean, we heard about him being freaky. We heard about him being bisexual. We heard about the freak nights. We didn't know what they were called. We heard about shit like that. Just like with R. Kelly, we heard about the shit. We heard about the girls. We heard about him marrying Aaliyah. We heard about, but then when that video came out with that little girl, and what's up with Diddy and R. Kelly and the urinating? Like, if that isn't the most degrading thing you could do, well, no, I guess defecating would be probably the worst. Yeah, I think defecating would probably be the worst. But still, a close runner-up is urinating on someone. How do you get off on urinating And I don't think it's the act of getting off on urinating. I think it's the act of being in control, the act of degrading, minimalizing another person, subjecting them to traumatic events. That's what they get high off of. That's exactly what they get high off of. Child. Yes, on call for a free call. Remember that time? Okay, y'all remember when they called Flash? Remember the one prostitute? Remember we was talking about him because um Jules had told him about, this couple, right? And so he was like, oh, okay, I'm down, but, I can't come at 3 a.m. because Cassie and Diddy wanted him to come at 3 a.m. He was like, I can't come at 3 a.m. I'm in bed with my girl. I got a barber appointment at like 7, 8, 9 in the a.m. I'll hit up them later. No longer than he told Jules that, Cassie was blowing his phone up at 3:30 in the morning, begging him to come and offer him more money than what was initially offered. After he told his girl how much he was about, what was shit? He jumped out of that bed, jumped in the shower, grabbed his shit, nappy headed and all, and left. They was like, we don't give a fuck about your haircut, nigga. Ain't nobody worried about your hair on your head. We worried about that thing between your legs. Child, it was the control. Now, I've been running my mouth for an hour and a half down there reading through these transcripts. My throat is getting kind of parched, even though I'm up here drinking water. I'm going to drop the link just in case, excuse me, just in case anybody wants to join to discuss, the case or their thoughts on the transcripts or, the arguments or, whatever. I'm going to drop the link right here. Now, I hope I didn't fail. I tried to read it as if I was actually in a courtroom trying to come across to the jurors, all 12. Trying to really come through to them. Trying to make them see Diddy for what he is. I tried to read it to you that way. I don't know how Miss Slavik read it or, came across, but, that's how I didn't watch enough court TV. So I know kind of how they talk and how they try to stress certain points. So I hope I did okay, y'all. I hope I did okay. But you said Pox against all odds. I can't believe the jury aren't sequestered. KJ, I'm surprised too. Because a case like this, as high profile as it is, you would think they would be in a hotel. Excuse me. But then again, are they? I don't even know. Do they get to go home every day? Yeah, they do get to go home every day, huh? I don't know. You would think they would be in like a hotel, like on a certain floor. They can't go off that floor. You can't go outside for no fresh air. You better open up that window. Oh, no. Because, man, I don't think I could be on that jury. I'm telling you. Thank you, Cosmic Girl. Thank you. I appreciate you, boo. Yes, and please make sure y'all is liking and sharing the video, please. And thank you very much. But let me make sure I read all your comments, too. Very Sick has a problem now. He can sit behind bars and think about what he's done to these people. And you know what, Sugar Mama? How much you want to bet he probably been sitting behind on bars since last November or whenever it was he got arrested? And not thinking, still not thinking to this day that he's done anything wrong. That's how sick of an individual he is. People like that are so sick. It's all about their gratification, satisfaction, you know what I'm trying to say. It's all about them. Just like, I like what the attorney Slavik was saying about, it's all about him. It's not about the ladies at all. Like they were saying when he be recording shit, they said sometimes he be zooming in on the guys. It's his own sexual fantasy. People have been saying that Diddy was gay, that he was bisexual, that he was really into men. And the way it seems to me was the reason why he was having the men have sex with so many of them. He just liked to see men fucking. But it would be too like right if he had. Yes, I said too like right. You know, that's some old school shit. My grandmama and my mama used to say when we just couldn't do shit right. They were like, it's too like right for you to clean your room before you leave. It's too like right for you. You know how the old folks say. So it would be too like right for him to get two men to have sex with each other. That would probably get out a lot faster. Oh yeah. See, people like Diddy, they don't want people to know they freaks. They don't want people to know they might be gay or down low or bisexual. He don't want that to get out. So it's easier for him to get these women, coerce them into doing this shit with all these different men while he's up there stroking his ass. Just stroking his ass. So you know what? We never thought, hold up, y'all. We never thought about this. Or have y'all? Have y'all ever thought about Diddy being sore from stroking himself? Now we know the ladies were sore from all the sex, the baby oil, you know, all the 4-5 days a week, 9 to 5 business hours plus overtime. But I wonder how Diddy he had to been stroking himself raw. And what's up, KJ?
Hey, how are you?
I am good. How are you, boo?
I'm doing good. You know
What you
what?
think about everything, child?
Well, you know what's been really not driving me crazy, but I've been putting a lot of thought into how this all got started. Like, I'm curious about understanding the timeline because I remember Cassie having this book written and sharing that with him and letting him know, hey, you can buy the rights to this and it won't see the light of day. Him calling her bluff, and then this all unfolded. But the way that it unfolded was he called her bluff, then he was on a award ceremony, receiving an award, receiving some kind of recognition. He thanked her for holding him down during the dark times, which was the name of her book. And then shortly after that, the video of him beating her at that hotel was released. And so I know that she didn't have the kind of money she would have needed to or power or pull to get that video released. I just feel like, even though he's a horrible person, don't get me wrong, he deserved to be put under the jail, but I kind of feel like he was targeted. Do you follow me?
I think when I think targeted, I think that the government was. I think the government had been trying to. I think people have been working to take him down with the government. But as far as targeted, like they're just upset with
Targeted
him
is
and
the
they're
wrong
going to just take
word.
him down.
Yeah, targeted may be
400
the
said
wrong
hell
word.
no. You see 400 in the chat.
What did he say? I know he's
He
going off.
said hell no, KJ.
I know he's going off. No, and I don't say that to say that he's innocent and poor old Diddy getting in trouble for this. They, taking a black man. I'm not saying it to
Like they
say
said
that.
about
I'm just saying that I feel like it's much bigger than we even know. Not because of anything, but that's why I'm curious about the timeline. Like, when did she offer that book? The draft of that book. When did he turn it down? I would love to know the timeline. I think we would see more into it. And of course, my dog wants to go for a walk now.
Oh, that's okay. That
All right, I gotta go.
happened.
Yeah, my dog. I gotta go. He's so annoying.
Oh, you
I'll
sure?
try to come back.
Okay,
Right.
I'll be here. Okay.
Okay, bye.
All right. Oh, her little poopsie. You said, oh, don't be telling KJ to get off the stairs. Don't you do KJ. Don't you do KJ. But yeah, I wouldn't say he was targeted per se as far as let's just take a black man down type of thing. Like remember they was doing that or saying that about R. Kelly. R. Kelly still has a lot of supporters, and I don't shade anybody who support R. Kelly. I I get I've been saying this for a while since it went down with R. Kelly. A lot of the music that he made is just awesome, incredible, um, amazing, brilliant, genius. Even though he can't read or write, um, but I feel awful when I listen to his music. I feel sick. I know some people can listen to his music and they can separate the two. I haven't been able to do that yet, but I'm hoping one day I can. And I say that because I always did love R. Kelly. Always. I mean, I was one of those people up until his the last album was called Chocolate Factory, right? Up until Chocolate Factory, I bought every and I have album I mean not albums, I have CDs, you guys. I still have CDs. Yes, I do. No shame. No shame. I listen to Pandora, I listen to, all the other uh, you know, different platforms for music and shit like that, through my car, at home, through my Alexa, whatever. But I still have CDs and I have every single one of his CDs, along with a whole bunch of other music. I still have it in my CD cases. I haven't tossed them away. I ain't burned them, nothing like that. I'm hoping one day I will be able to listen to them again. But even if I'm listening to Pandora and one of his songs come on, even if it's from the group that he was with before he branched out on his own, I can't even listen to them. It just does something to my soul, my spirit. I get sick. I just feel disgusted. Like this nasty, dirty dog motherfucker. All the songs he was literally telling us what he was doing to them young girls. And so I can't. So, I ain't gonna let nobody judge me or condemn me for how I feel. But on the flip side, I don't condemn other people for how they feel. I have a bestie who loves R. Kelly way more than I do because we didn't even have conversations. We didn't have fights or nothing like that. But we didn't have conversations, Well, I can separate the guy from the music and I can all through his trial and stuff, they supported him just like a lot of other people, Me, on the other hand, I'm like, girl, please, whatever, So I don't have a problem with people who still support, you know, R. Kelly. He's an amazing, amazing artist. Probably one of the best in our generation, in our lifetime. So, I can't take that away from him. But it's a trip how I feel when as soon as I hear shit on, I'll be looking for my phone, looking for the damn switch, fast forward, skip. I can't do it, and it's been years. It's been years, and I'm hoping that one day I will be able to listen to his music again without my thoughts tainted, thinking about little kids. Ugh. But anyway, yes, he was a good storyteller. He was. He made some great songs. I never take that away from him. Never. Never. But anyway, y'all, that's what we got today on the closing arguments. I thought Slavik did really good. Now the defense, they didn't have their own witnesses. Their defense was less than what, 20-25 minutes. That was the time they spent for their defense of what they presented. And it was basically them going over things that we had already heard, going over text messages, pictures, voice text, things like that. People are saying that if they didn't put Diddy on the stand, which I even listened to who was that I listened to today? Um who was that I listened to? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I think Send it to my Facebook inbox. Hold on, you guys, 1 second. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Here it is. Okay, so what I had seen earlier, I had seen a video. Y'all know DJ Valid is how to say Valid. How they say his name? He had actually did an interview with Judge Mathis on Diddy and why Diddy defense team didn't call any witnesses on the stand. And basically he was saying the same thing, that the defense believe they have a strong case. They believe that the prosecution didn't provide a burden of proof. They believe that they didn't have enough proof to prove all those charges that they're trying to put on Diddy. And so he was basically saying if they were to put Diddy on the stand, he could get fucked up on the cross, which is what people have been saying. He get fucked up on the cross. And like the defense was saying, people were lying and trying to get the case thrown out, 2 mistrials, acquittal, and shit. That they could be like, well, Diddy's lying, and try to catch him in some lies and all kind of shit like that. And even with the witnesses. So that's why Judge Mathis said that's the main reason. He said he totally don't recommend it. He says most defense lawyers in these type of criminal cases, they do not put their defendant, they do not put their client on the stand. And he said it's very smart that the defense is not doing that. But some people still are saying, well, damn, if you didn't put Diddy on the stand, you could at least brought some down witnesses. They didn't bring not a one, not a nan. Not a nan. But yeah, I was like, child. But anyway, we shall see, y'all. It's people who strongly think that Diddy will go to jail. And it's people who strongly think that he will get off. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Let me know, hoodies. What's up? What's up? Okay, I'm about to get off of here. Thank you, KJ, for hitting the link. I appreciate it, even though 400 tried to do you from the chat. Talking about get out, KJ, get out. But yeah, you guys, we shall see. Tomorrow we'll be hearing from the defense, their closing arguments. I can imagine that a lot of what they're going to be saying is that the people who were involved in the alleged sex trafficking and coercion and shit like that, oh, they had a choice. They could have walked away. They loved it. It was certain text messages, certain voice notes where they said they had fun or they loved it or they was looking forward. And both of those situations with both of those ladies, they kept saying they prefer to not have the freak offs unless they wanted them. A lot of times they didn't want them. And that's what the case is mainly based off of. People been forced to have sex. People been threatened, coerced to have sex. We shall see. We shall see. Now I'm gonna say this. I ain't got nothing against Diddy. Shit, Diddy ain't never did shit for me. He ain't gonna never do shit for me. So whether he's in jail or not, it's not gonna affect me. It's not gonna affect none of us, actually. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, feel like people who want Diddy to get locked up or people who believe he's guilty, they got a vendetta for him. They just want to see a black man go down. They just, stuff like that. I hate that shit. I really hate that shit. Like if you did a crime, if you fucked around on people like that, you deserve to go to jail. You deserve to go to jail. But I think with Diddy's mindset, you know, he's some type of, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to read him mentally, but it's something definitely wrong with him for him to be able to, like, you know, out of everything I said, out of everything that he does, having sex behind, how many of y'all men out there could have sex with your woman after watching her have sex with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men in one night without protection? After she done been pissed on, ejaculated on, baby oiled on. How many of y'all men could, after all that, find it in yourself to run up behind all those men who are prostitutes, who's getting paid to have sex? And you run up behind them and jump in that shit after it's been busted wide open for the last 12 to 24 hours without a condom. You don't make the men use condoms. You don't allow them to use condoms, basically. And then you run up in that shit too with no condoms. That's not going to happen. The normal man is not going to do some shit like that. That's why I say, and a lot of people say, something is seriously wrong with this man. You don't care about other people. You don't even care about your fucking life. At the minimal, you should at least wear protection after watching 3, 4, 5 men run up in your girl without a condom. At the least, you should at least think about protecting yourself. I don't mind y'all fucking and sucking and coming and all that kind of shit and slathering and rounding baby oil and all that kind of shit. But I'm going to put on some protection after y'all motherfuckers. No, he didn't do that. And if that don't tell you that there's something wrong with that man, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. You said, I think he loses even if he beats the case. No one will want to associate with him. And that's, yeah, I think so too. Even when it comes to women, I think a lot of women would be scared to mess with him because, I mean, you looking at him being with Cassie for 10 years, him being with Jane for like 3 years, 3+ years. And so basically for the last, I mean, and the people he was in between time, like even his baby mama, even like the one who passed away from asthma, you know, even her, she was having freak offs with him. She finally left his ass like, fuck this shit. In her book, she put a lot in there about him having sex with other men, even allegedly, I'll be sure, the father of her first child. Kim Porter, yeah, in her book. Even talked about how he tried to get Tupac to have sex with him. Hell, even Terrence Howard did an interview saying how Diddy had tried to get with him a few times. And after meeting up with Diddy a few times, he told his agent and his assistant, don't you ever, ever put my appointment book for me to have a meeting with Diddy ever again. Because I don't go that way. So there's a lot of people who knew about him, but a lot of people didn't know the extent. They knew he was a freak, but they didn't know the extent that he would go to get pleasure and satisfaction, gratification. Yeah, rest in peace, Kim Porter. But on that note, you guys, that's all I got. Make sure you please like and share the video. Make sure you subscribe if you happen to be new here, please, and thank you very much. Feel free to send a Cash App or Super Chat to the Cash App $ the Hood Table 402. I will be back tomorrow, going on week 7. 5 days a week we've been going live. 5 days a week and some Sundays, some Saturdays, trying to cover this case and do TV show reviews on TV shows. You guys, after this case, I might need like a week 2 break. You know what I'm saying? I need a vacation from Diddy. But I do appreciate everybody's support. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to my reviews, my commentary. Like, share, and subscribe, please, and thank you. Stay safe. Be blessed. Remain vigilant at all times, and always remember to keep it hood. I'm out. Bye.